technique I want to demonstrate to illustrate the idea is MAT to psoas. This is a technique you may have learnt already from your studies, but what I illustrate a few of the things that people can often do wrong with it and how to make it more effective, and also how to use that clock exercise principle. And once you have that idea, you can play with that with every single technique that you're doing. So really you need to get the right localization, and it's a whole body event. Make sure you're activating the body, so the whole body's in part of the MAT, not just the muscle you want to test. Now Rhonda's, it's actually her right one's tighter, but for illustration purposes I'm going to try her left. So we'll see how much control she has. Now one mistake people make with psoas, often it's the hip flexor, so when you drop the leg off, that's supposed to be stretching it, okay? Now quite often people drop it down here before they do the MAT, because they're going to like a physiological bind. That's far too much. You've already overstretched the spindles by the time you get there. So I suggest you start way up where it's in neutral. Start where it's in ease, because you're starting not from the ideal neutral. Remember that concept of motion testing? You're starting from its relative neutral. In other words, the neutral in the strain pattern. Okay? So she's quite good up here. Then I take the leg down, and I can use my legs, thighs to grab her foot. Well, basically until I start to feel a bind. Now, let's say I feel it about here, right? I can start to sense it pulling in so at that point, I'm a long way from going down lower. So for extra support, I can hold the foot. The traditional way to treat this is you get the person to lift the knee slightly, and maybe turn the foot inwards against my thigh, okay, to activate the psoas. Now that doesn't quite feel like it engages it very well, so what I'm going to get it to do is pushing up and out instead. That feels better. Now she'll feel that as more connected as well. I feel like I've engaged the area, and then relax. And I wait till she relaxes completely, and that worked quite well, and then but I didn't get a lot of extra change, even though I felt it relax. So I'm going to try it again. Activate pushing up. Try pushing up and in. Directly in. And in and up again. That's it. Or I can try back and in to stop me. Does that make sense? And then relax. And then I recheck and see if that's made. That one's made a little bit more difference that time. So this is obviously not her primary problem, so I'm not really expecting a huge change here, okay? But that should illustrate to you the idea. You can play with the concept of the clock, and you'll feel when the body's in it or it's not quite in it. You know when you've got everything involved in the treatment because you feel like everything's all included. It's like you have all the ingredients. If you're making a cake, you've got all the ingredients included. If you haven't quite got all the ingredients, you'll feel something's missing. So you need to find the right perspective to add that ingredient in, okay? So, and then eventually, as you go down further, the person will get further and further. So obviously she can go a long way down, but I started encountering that neurological bind way up here. And from what I'm feeling when I'm doing that MAT, it doesn't actually feel like her psoas is in trouble. I actually feel there's more pressure through the groin and along the midline area, okay? So, like with practice, you can start telling when the technique you're using is effective or not, and then it can direct you to what areas do actually need it. So whatever technique you're using, watch the response of the whole body to that technique, and it'll guide you to where you really need to be.